So what do you do? I saw your video. You look like you're up working on near some either propane or was it compressor shit?
Well, it's I do welding supplies and gases,
Uh,
so liquid nitrogen, oxygen, stuff like that.
how many propane tanks have you come across from the 1930s?
Uh, well, I've come across some high pressure ones that
Let's save it for
are
the
from
show.
way back then.
The ones
What's that?
The ones that been restamped.
I actually have one that isn't restamped.
Really cool. We'll save it
So.
for the show. Yeah, we'll save it for the show.
Digital 410 Productions proudly presents the What's in Your Head podcast.
Digitized live from the
Your company name here.
studios in Cape Coral, Florida. It's the What's in Your Head podcast.
Oh, my name is Mike. I'm wearing a Hunter orange shirt.
Oh, fuck you! You're such a dick. You're turning in. You're gonna be turning in soon.
That's an insult and a half.
Oh, he pissed me off the other night.
Oh yeah, what do you do?
I don't know. He was having issues with his in-laws. He was down here, taking care of like shots and stuff for the kids.
Uh huh.
And
Like
he
tequila
blowing
shots?
me. He was, huh?
Like tequila shots?
No, like vaccines for the kids.
Oh, okay. Like TB and shit or COVID?
No, he doesn't want to give them the COVID.
But he's doing like the TB, the tuberculosis and shit.
Yeah, the typical like 2 and 3 year shots or whatever.
Speaking of that, did you hear the last surviving guy who lived in an iron lung died yesterday?
Paul, what's his name?
Yeah, we talked about him on Stan Haney a few years back.
He died yesterday?
Yeah, he died. The dude was
Fuck, I was just watching his videos.
70 years old, he was the last person living in an iron lung.
Holy shit. Well, here's to Paul.
Not to be mean, but 70
Congratulations,
years,
sir.
70 years basically. Could you imagine like living in a tanning bed for 70 years with the lights turned out? Because that's essentially what the guy did. He could not get out of this lung, and it's not like it was mobile, so it's not like, hey, we're gonna wheel him out on the back porch for a few hours to get some sun.
No. And you would think that they would have come up with something better by now.
Well, I'm sure they did. Otherwise, you would have more people living in iron lungs. But maybe
Well, we have a cure for it, right?
was that that's not polio. What was?
Yeah, that was polio.
Yeah, it was
I thought
polio.
just fucked up your legs.
No, polio, if it gets bad enough, it paralyzes you.
I gotcha.
And he was paralyzed like completely from the neck down, and he couldn't even breathe.
So
my
he-
stepfather was paralyzed from the neck down too, but he still had motor
He
function.
must have been in either of the weird transition phase where
Yeah.
he couldn't medically make that change, or the insurance gave up on him at that point and he couldn't afford it, or maybe what's the devil, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe his lungs couldn't survive the amount of time it would take to remove him from the tanning bed and then hook him up to whatever modern day equivalent. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that's essentially what it did, right? It was a
Alexander.
vacuum. It was a vacuum chamber to make your lungs go up and down, right?
Yes.
I mean, Morgan should know. He works in propane. It's about the same. High pressure canisters.
Almost. I do oxygen too, so it is pretty much the
And
same
technically,
thing.
he's living in a high pressure canister. So yeah, it's the same thing.
Well, yeah, it's actually what a hyperbaric chamber is they like for
The bends?
divers that have come up too fast. It's just basically an oxygen rich environment.
For divers or Michael Jackson when he wants to get a good nap before the propofol. That was like the urban legend before the propofol was like, oh, he sleeps in a hyperbolic chamber. No. You know, it's weird.
I don't know. I suppose anything's possible.
By the way, welcome to another episode of the What's in Your Head podcast. We just kind of kicked it off, and the pre-show subject matter was so good, with the exception I'll have to edit out a little bit about a friend of ours so he don't get mad. But other than that, which we didn't even complete the story, but welcome to a new season of What's in Your Head podcast. It's been a while. Mike and I did this really dark shit you need to know before society slides off a cracker episode, and it never aired because the audio dropped out, and the video, something happened. I have to transcribe it from a video somewhere, but we never ended up doing it.
I got sick.
Oh, that's right. You had to poop.
In the middle of recording it, I got sick and I had to go.
That's only
not feeling good.
In 5 years we've been doing this. That only happened to me once. It was on the What's the Scuttlebutt podcast. And I had an author on there, but luckily it happened when the last 10 minutes of the episode. I just all of a sudden I start getting real hot, and my stomach was like, "Nope, we're not doing this." And we get to a quick outro that I said, "Dude, I'm sweat. I was literally sweating. I was like, I gotta go, dude." I said, I'm just something just came over me. I like pouring sweat out of my face. But anyhow,
you were live then?
No, pre-recording.
Oh,
I was live, and so yeah, we were still on live then. Yeah. Anyhow, down for those watching on YouTube, down at the bottom, you'll recognize the name, you'll recognize the face. Back when we were doing a live a lot, Mr. Morgan Long checking in on the YouTube live stream, commenting and posting all the time. You would hear Gordon and I talk a lot about Mr. Morgan Long. So, one of the things that I have discovered in the podcast format, at least for me, is two personalities is great, but having a third person to interject, especially if you don't have the exact same personalities, is even better. And not only that, but if one person can't do the show, you don't have to cancel it. You always have, okay, now it's a two-person show for tonight and what have you. And Gordon's still out doing his thing. So I reached out to Morgan. I said, "Hey, man, we're going to do a little bit of a format change again. You want to come on the show and see how it feels?" And so he's trying us on, and hopefully he doesn't leave us in the dressing room and go find a tighter fitting show. But yeah, that's what we're aiming for. And so Morgan's rocking in. Before the show, I was getting a little background because you and I've hung out a few times. I've brought stickers to you. I think didn't you have one of the original Digital 410 hats?
Yeah.
Yep. So he goes.
I wore it out long ago.
He goes that far back. Yep.
But I do have the original Digital 410 sticker, and I still have the original podcast sticker.
The funny thing about that sticker is I got those off a Sticker Mule, and since then I realized they've grown now, but I think back then they were making that shit on a Cricut, like what I have. And I'm actually going to get a high-end inkjet printer. You can't do laser printer because it heats up. How laser printers work is you negatively charge the paper with a heat source, and then you positively charge the toner, and then the two shall meet. And so obviously when you got a super hot fucking drum in there, you can't put sticker paper through. It'll just turn into a big, hot, messy goop. So
I'm not gonna lie, you just schooled me for a second because I had no idea how a laser printer actually worked.
Believe it or not, that was part of the CompTIA A+ certification to prove that you know how to repair computers. So yes, the drum heats up and negatively charges the paper. You know what it's actually kind of like? I just realized
that's why it comes out hot when you.
I just fucking realized this. It's the precursor, simpler version of powder coating. Powder coating is a giant fucking laser printer. They negatively charge your bike frame. They positively charge the powder coating, and then they put it in a fucking kiln, which melts it. Printer. I guess you would say that laser printer basically was the precursor to powder coating. But yes, that's how it works. And so when you want to make stickers, you can't put that.
Postcursor.
You can't put that through a laser printer. Get away from there. And so I'm gonna buy.
I don't want to.
I'm going to buy a high-end inkjet printer here soon, and then I'm going to start making those stickers again, because what you do is through the Cricut, you can print them out on the template on the sticker paper through your regular printer, but it has to be an inkjet, as we just went over. Then you put it in the Cricut, and it'll cut around the Digital 410. Actually, I'm sorry. If you want to go high quality, you put a clear coat on there, and then you put it on the Cricut, and it cuts that out. I bring that up because Morgan mentioned the original Digital 410 stickers. I only got those in low quantity. I remember I gave one away and the guy was talking shit about how small they were. And I'm like, yes, they're small because I bought them on when Sticker Mule was trying to make a name for themselves, they would have these sales. Well, you can get 50 of them for $20. A roll of 50 for $20. Actually, no, it was a roll of 50 for like $9.99, and I would buy them because the regular price is they're damn near $1.25 a sticker. So, like, if you wanted a roll of 100, you're shelling out $110 plus shipping. And so they're kind of their demo giveaway. But anyhow, I would drive around town and stick those things all over the fucking place. There's still two of them that I know of that haven't been peeled off. But my point is they've been out in the weather through 2 hurricanes now, and they haven't faded and they haven't peeled off. One of them is in the parking lot of, I think, Starbucks on Cape Coral Parkway. And there's one still on the post. Oh, God, where the hell is that? I think Tropical Smoothie or Einstein Bagels. I don't know. It's somewhere within the greater Pine Island, Veteran Del Prado area. But my point is, those things stick up to the weather. So I'm gonna start printing those up. I gotta get a printer here in a couple weeks. So I'm just gonna, because when I do those, see the problem with the vinyl stickers, like, you know, the ones I give away, those things take 20 minutes. After they're done cutting, it takes me 20 minutes to cut the fucking things out, especially the What's the Scuttlebutt podcast, because they got all the super small font. And the shit's expensive. You're talking about $14 a roll plus a clear coat and a time. It's just they're tremendously expensive and tremendously time consuming. But the inkjet stickers, I literally can just run them through the machine twice, chop, fucking make a stack of them, and I'm just going to start shelling those out to our Patreon listeners. And so if you guys haven't signed up for Patreon, that's another good reason. By the way, we're doing the next Patreon giveaway. We're giving away, if you're a World War II aficionado, we're giving away this print by Valor Studios called Off the Line. And they made these when the Pacific came out in collaboration with Henry Sledge.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we gave away one, I think, back in January. So we're giving this one away first week of April. So if you haven't done so, head over to patreon.com, look for Digital 410, or just go to what'sinyourhead.com or d-410.com and click on the Patreon link. But yes, so Morgan's had those stickers forever. I want to try to get those out. But you and I were talking before the show, and welcome to the ADD episode of What's in Your Head podcast. We were just talking about, what was his name, Paul, the Iron Lung guy?
Yeah.
Paul Alexander.
Paul Alexander, 70 years in a high-pressure environment, essentially just a giant propane tank or oxygen tank. Morgan and I were talking about before the show, and I didn't outright say it, but he works in the industry, so I think he knows what I'm talking about, unless we're going to reveal that I was completely wrong. I asked him if he came across any propane or oxygen tanks from around the mid-30s. And he said yes. And I said, have you come across a re-stamped one? And he says, I don't. I actually have a non-re-stamped one. 2 things. I'm surprised at how old that fucking technology is, because 1930s is actually considered relatively new. I think I saw a TikTok video the other day where someone said they had one from like the early 1900s or the late. How old do those oxygen tanks and propane tanks get? And who knew we recycled them that goddamn long?
Well, I guess they'll last forever. I've got a couple that are, I think the oldest one that I have now is 1923. So 101 years old. And
to my knowledge, all they have to do is pass the recertification test, right?
Yeah, all they do is they dump them in a high pressure vessel filled with water,
like Paul's Iron Lung, for example.
Yeah, more or less. Only, he probably would have drowned in this, but or imploded. But all they do is they fill it full of air to 5/3 of the working pressure, and if it doesn't crack or something like that, they can recertify it for 5 to 10 years.
Wow.
So the one that we have now that's from 1923, it was retested every 5 years, so it's got just stamp after stamp all down the neck of the cylinder. But essentially, they'll last forever.
Well, I want to see if Paul and I are on the same wavelength. I've seen videos of these. I've never seen them in real life. Because after they recertify them, they stamp them in the country of origin or the country in which they recertify them. And, well, we all know how the Germans are about documentation. There's some oxygen tanks and propane tanks or gas tanks that come out of the general German area, and let's say, I don't know, 1939 to 1945, that have another, let's just say, the government of the time stamp of approval on them. And
or the Indian what is it? The Indian goodwill blessing.
Yes, the Buddhist symbol for prosperity.
Yeah, that's it.
And so what they did is most of them, they restamp them to make them look like a checkerboard almost, or like a tic-tac-toe board. But apparently every once in a while one slips by, and it's that sign of prosperity, or swastika, if you will, is right there in all the world to see, right next to the recertification date.
Yeah, essentially when the Nazis nationalized the Lindy Company, they took possession of all of their assets, and since they were all, property of the fatherland, they stamped all of their stuff with their markings. And after the war, when Lindy became its own independent company again, they made a reverse stamp, so it looks like a 4-pane window, basically. And I've been in the industry for...
I knew I didn't like Bill Gates for a reason.
What's that?
I knew I didn't like Bill Gates for a reason. Oh, wrong windows. I got you.
But yeah, I've been in the industry for about 20 years, and I think I've seen 3 that haven't been stamped. So they're very rare, but they are still out there.
I think it's funny when people get to a certain age and they think they discovered something new. And after the Super Bowl commercial, Volkswagen, why didn't you talk about the way you were in 1939? It's like, because it's not a secret. It's not a secret so much to the fact that every day around 5 o'clock, I see an Audi driving down Del Prado that has the Volkswagen Eagle in the back. They just took the circle off the bottom. It's like, that's the same fucking Eagle, by the way. But I say all that to say this. Yes, Hitler may or may have not drawn the first Volkswagen bug on a piece of paper. But people, what you got to realize is, going back to what Paul said, and somehow this has turned into an episode of the What's Scuttlebutt podcast, but that's fine. After World War II, what has now become the United Nations, back then was the League of Nations, they got together. They went through Germany's, obviously we split the goddamn nation in half when sharing with Russia, but anyhow, the side on the East Germany, side on the West German, we went through there, or West Berlin, we went through everything, and if it benefited the people of Germany and contributed to the rebuilding and paying back of reparations to all the other nations, they approved it and let it continue on, such as your Volkswagens and the high pressure company you're talking about. Anything that they knew was strictly Third Reich related or Nazi beneficial, they shut that shit down and it's gone. So but when people are Volkswagen,
well, except for Werner von Braun.
Yeah, well, you don't want to throw the science out with the bathwater, right? It's like
no, of course not.
We got to.
But we took that and made it beneficial for us.
Yes, because we told the Russians that you may send dogs to space first, but we're gonna get there soon. So you work in propane and propane accessories, right?
Well, I'm not quite Hank Hill, but actually my company does everything but propane. So
I've only been talking about propane for 24 minutes and 58 seconds, but you could have just said other flammable material. No, that's right. That was my fault. You were talking about welding gas. You were talking about, and I instinctively saw the cylinder in my mind with the propane. But yes, the welding cylinders. That's the gas.
Oxyacetylene.
Yes, that's the one.
Argon, stuff like that.
Argon, carbon dioxide mix, helium, that kind of stuff.
Much
welding wire.
Much love to the welders out there. That is not even
That's
welding.
a tough gig.
The gig is tough. It's highly skilled, but the environment, holy shit. I used to build ambulances for a living. And when I tell people I build ambulances, it wasn't a GM assembly line. It was more like West Coast choppers, right? They would literally, the company had been around since the 60s. The original owner almost lost it because he spent all the profits on drag racing. That was his love. And so then when it went public, it basically got rid of him. But it was still small enough that we would send a guy down to the local Ford, Chevy, International, depending on what truck of the month. And it was just a rolling chassis. It was the front, the doghouse, the doors, not even rear back to the cab. It was just a hood, fenders, the front of the cab, and a wide open space, and just the beams going out the back. And we literally
just a cutaway van.
We literally fabricated the box in the back, which meant you had an entire warehouse factory full of guys welding that shit by hand. This was in 1999, so this wasn't done robotically. You had 15, 20 guys back there just welding all day long. And every once in a while, I'd have to walk back there to get something because we had two different factories, the same building, but we had a bulkhead and a door separating the two and some flaps. You'd walk back there for 5 minutes and you'd feel that shit in your throat and your lungs, just the welding all day long, and then plus the guys using grinders and all that shit. It's like, God damn, those guys have to be spitting shit up after 3 or 4 years of working there.
Oh, I can only imagine. I do it. I do like metal art projects and stuff. And after using a grinder for about an hour, I'm about ready to die. So I can't imagine how these guys do it for 8, 10, 12 hours a day outside in the Florida heat.
Mike, you ever you obviously do plumbing, so, but maybe more associated like mounting a TV on the wall or something. You take some sort of pre-designed template and you got it measured out, make sure it's level before you start cutting in your drywall or whatever, right?
Sure.
Worst case happens, you fuck up $30 worth of drywall.
Sure.
Imagine being 20 and someone pulling up an International Harvester, handing you a body saw, some fucking fender lights, and a bottle of and a can of white lithium grease, and say, put this fender light right above the wheel well, cut it this hole. My job was literally to take 1.5 unibits, blast a hole through the roof of a brand new Ford F-350, a Chevy E-Series, an International, run lights up, putting light bars in there, putting air horns, putting all the body putty, making sure the shit doesn't leak after you reassemble it. I'm like doing this at like 21 after drinking all weekend. And it's so crazy that these ambulances were essentially built by people on speed and alcoholics. They had us on mandatory 55 hours a week. And this is in Grove City, Ohio, which is a suburb of Columbus, which is in the state of Ohio. And I think at the time, this was 1998, it was something like, obviously you hit 40 hours, you get taxed, right? And then I think as you hit 50, you get taxed again because overtime. Then I think 50, like, I don't know. I know you got taxed twice. Sometimes if you put in more hours, 3 times. But up there, I got taxed by the state of Ohio, the city of Columbus, plus the federal income tax. And they made us work 55 hours a week, like every week. That's why I worked during 9/11. 9 of the 12 trucks that were destroyed on 9/11 were ours. But anyhow, wow. I say all that. They worked us so much that we only had a day and a half off a week, that everybody, and we're all young, most of us, so everybody in there, and a lot of the guys drove from northern Kentucky up there 3 hours each way because the cost of living was cheaper down there. So when you're making $12 in 1999, you could live higher in the hog if you lived down in southern Ohio on the river instead of living in the suburbs. So everybody in there is exhausted. They're young. You got in there 6 o'clock. You can go to any toolbox on that line, open up a drawer. Somebody had a pack of yellow jackets, mini thins, basically trucker speed. And then if they weren't on those, I knew 6 or 7 guys who went to the local bar every day at lunch. As soon as they walked in, they already had 2 Budweisers sitting on the counter. So I'm like, everybody in this place is either an alcoholic or hopped up on speed, and we're literally making vehicles that save people's lives. But that's the way it was.
I think that's how it was back in the late 90s and early 2000s, as it was anyway, because it was like that in the construction industry as well. I know a lot of dudes that my father worked with, and my father is no saint, but a lot of dudes that my father worked with that they were getting busy on the job site, just getting shit done.
The construction workers and the landscapers, they're the guys standing in line of Circle K between 7:30 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. with a fucking case of beer and 2 coolers.
Yep.
And then you drive home.
Morgan, you're local, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
across
you
the
are?
river.
Okay.
He's in your neck of the woods.
Is it the type of thing where anybody can walk in off the street, or is it like a contracted service where you work?
No, anybody can come in. We do a lot of CO2, so we get a lot of people with kegerators
Sure.
and our shop's down in Naples. So,
I got you.
we get a lot of high-end people.
Let's
Sure.
say supposedly, let's say I know a guy who has like a milk crate full of empty Whippets containers. Can you like refill those? Aw.
I could fill them with something, but not what you're looking for.
Bogus, man.
I know, but the FDA and DBPR, they're pretty gnarly.
Yeah. You'll have
No,
that.
the only reason I ask is I actually have a oxyacetylene tank that I believe I have that needs to be recertified and refilled. So, they haven't been done in at least 10 years, maybe more. So
Okay.
Can I take
No
a
problem.
show to a dark area real quick before we get too
No.
far away from Paul? What was Paul's name
No.
again, Mike?
Paul Alexander,
Paul Alexander. Okay, hear me out. We're going to go dark, but hear me out.
70 years, died at 78.
Okay. You're Paul Alexander. You spent 70 years in essentially, as we said, a tanning bed, if you will. Right?
Sure.
Pressurized trash can.
Pressurized trash can. Now, let's say hypothetically we knew that another pressurized trash can called the Ocean Gate Explorer was going to go to the bottom of the earth and crumple.
God.
Now, if Paul knew that he was going to die a short 9 months later, if you would have went to Paul and said, "Hey, I'm from the future. This thing's going to go to the bottom of the earth, get close to the Titanic, and it's going to crumple. You're going to die 12 months later. You've literally been staring at these same four walls for 70 years. I got a proposition for you. Do you think he would have made that trip knowing that it would be his last trip? But hey, I want to see some cool shit before I go. And who better to die in a high-pressure trash can than a guy who spent 70 years in one? I say it's like almost poetic.
Yes, but what did they really see? Do we know if they even made it? I don't think that they actually
I'm not saying they saw the Titanic, but I guarantee you they saw at least one turtle, a dolphin, and half a fucking jellyfish,
Oh my
which is
God,
more
he
than
coulda-
Paul
he-
has ever seen in his
He
life.
could get that
I'm-
shit on National Geographic. Get the fuck out of here
The
with
guy's
that.
living in technology from 1963. You think he had a plasma TV?
He became a lawyer. He was a
I can
defense
pretty-
attorney.
Even better, he could afford the damn trip.
Who's not gonna rule in favor of the guy in the iron lung? I mean, come on, let's be honest here.
And plus, he was a lawyer, which
We got
meant
sympathy points with that one.
he could have.
Exactly.
He would have
But I
been.
can tell you, the people on that sub, the last thing they saw was their brain coming through the back of their eyeballs.
No, I'm sure they died before that even happened. The only person I feel bad for is the kid because he
Flash
didn't even want to
boiling
go.
and all that shit. Oh my god.
He didn't even want to go. But his mom.
Yeah.
You want to talk about survivor's guilt? The ticket was originally his dad and his mom. And his dad wanted to have like a bonding experience, and the kid didn't even want to go, but the mom gave up her ticket. That's
I don't know if I could live on this planet. Putting myself in those shoes with my kid, I don't know if I could live on this planet.
Oh no. That would be horrible.
Especially because he was what, 17, 18, 19?
he was young enough that
Yeah.
he's like, I guess I'll make something out of the situation. I'm gonna break
Yeah.
the Guinness Book of World Records for being the only person to solve a Rubik's Cube at 30,000 leagues under the sea.
Yeah.
He literally took a Rubik's Cube with him. He was going to
Yeah.
solve it down there and then put it in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Talk about pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally, yeah. But yeah, I don't think,
I'm just saying, I think Paul missed out on a great opportunity.
that's so dark and twisted.
I said we were going to go there.
Poor fucking guy. The guy was a legend.
But
I've been
no, he was a
watching
legend to
videos of
you
this-
because apparently there's a documentary that's been out for 2.5 days, and apparently you must have binge watched it. I haven't talked about the guy in 8 years.
I've known about this guy for like 10 years, dude. 10 years I've been watching this dude in the Iron Lung. He's awesome. It's people like that inspire me. My stepfather inspired me. 45 years in a wheelchair, was still getting up and going to work every single day, working third shift nights at the post office.
Do you think like 1979, when he was a mere 32 years old and he was watching John Travolta play the boy in the bubble, you think he said, "This is some bullshit"? Not Bubble Boy. That was 2001. I'm talking about the boy in the bubble. How's that for a resume? I played Donnie Darko and Bubble Boy.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
I don't know. I'm going to go to hell, but you know, at least
Oh,
we're gonna have fun when
be
we
a
get
good
there.
company.
Yeah, I guess.
I'll see you there.
Real quick, I guess I should probably put this out on the road in case it comes up in conversation at one point. And people look at me like, "Huh? When did that happen?" So about 2 Sundays ago, Morgan already knows this. Actually, there's only a handful of people on the planet that know this, and Morgan's one just because it came up in conversation when I invited him to come on the show. And the other person is Bill from the Unsupervised podcast, outside of my family sphere. So was it about 2 weeks ago now? It was I called you on a Monday, last Monday, Morgan?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it would have been last Sunday, not the Sunday that we just finished, but the Sunday before-ish. Yes, Sunday. Saturday, I think I ran a couple miles. And then, no, I didn't run. Super busy. Yeah, so didn't run. And Sunday, Sariana and I were at Publix, and she was bending down to get some food, and I just felt like somebody punched me dead nuts right in the fucking chest. I felt like a crack, and I was like, "Oh, fuck." Then all of a sudden, like 6 seconds later, whap, hit me dead in the fucking chest again. Sariana looks at me, and I'm all white. She's like, "You okay?" I was like, I'm having fucking chest pains. She's like, "What are we going to do?"
Weird.
I was like, "Well, let's get this shit and go." And she drove home because she has her temps, and she's been driving more. And now, with the exception of my brother and myself, prior to us hitting the ripe old age of 40 and beyond, my dad and his cousin were the only males in our bloodline to live past 40. All the rest of them died of heart failure. And my dad has like 8 stents in his heart. So I called him on the way home. I didn't tell him what happened.
Jesus.
I said, "Hey, when you end up in the hospital with your heart issues, what's the symptoms?" He said, "I get a hard hit in the chest. I can't breathe. And then I get pain spreads across my chest and my back." And as he's telling me this, I got pain spreading across my chest and my back's tightening up. Now, keep in mind, I was just standing in the spice aisle of Publix because Sariana was looking for Italian seasoning. Now, not the Italian seasoning in the dry package that you use to make salad dressing. No, I've already been down that road. This is the Italian seasoning that's in the same aisle as like your salt, pepper, or if you're bougie like we are, your Himalayan sea salt, which actually comes from Pakistan. But that's a whole different story. So she's looking for that when this happened. So anyhow, so my dad's basically describing the symptoms I have, and I told him what happened. He's like, "Yeah, you don't want to fuck around with that. Get to the hospital." So I walked in the door and told Carrie. She's like, "Well, if it's that bad, why didn't you call the ambulance from the hospital?" I said, "Because that's an extra $1,000. I got a 16-year-old there with temporaries and $300 worth of groceries. I'm not going to leave that shit laying behind. You fucking kidding me?" And
I'll take a heart attack over that money.
it's a 2-minute trip down the road. It's like Publix is literally a mile from here, but yes. And so we went down the emergency room. Now, fun fact, the city of Cape Coral has substantially outgrown its hospital. We walk in there and it looked like a fucking war zone. Not as far as gore, but just the amount of humanity in this room. And you do have a couple of guys walking around with IVs in their arms where they do the blood withdrawal and any other sort of oil change that you might need in your stay at the hospital that is Cape Coral. And as people tell you, you go in there and tell people you got chest pains. There's no sitting around. I went in there and told them what happened. They took me right back, put some stickers on my chest, hooked me up to EKG, and put a little thing that you would see back in Alien on your finger and asked me a few things. Saw that I wasn't having a heart. The EKG read out fine. Took a blood test. Now, I did look at my Garmin when that happened, and my heart rate did shoot up to 117 while standing in Publix for no reason. And so they drew the blood because what we had learned previously, because Carrie got a sharp pain one day in her jaw, and apparently that's the female equivalent to your arm going numb, which is an indicator in men of a heart attack. And one way they can tell you if you had a heart attack is after you have a heart attack, your body produces a hormone that it only produces after a heart attack. It's like kind of like, hey, fucking all systems go. We need to go into recovery mode. Let's triple down on the white blood cells or what have you. Pull out the secret sauce. And so they take your blood to see if you're producing that hormone. But apparently if you give the blood or take the blood sample too soon after the heart attack, the hormones haven't spread through your system yet. And so they don't tell you this. They just kick you out into the lobby with the unwashed masses. And Carrie and I have been to the emergency room and stuff so much with her illnesses that when we were leaving, we grabbed 2 hooded sweatshirts, 2 Gatorades, and 2 Uncrustables. And, of course, I pulled my Uncrustable and the nurse like, I wouldn't eat until they tell you. Oh. But anyhow, so they kicked me out in the unmasked washes. I'm sit out there and freeze in the lobby. Well, what they don't tell you is you got to wait 2 more hours, and then they do another blood test and a follow-up EKG. So they actually came and got me and did a lung x-ray on me. Because I guess, okay, guy comes in saying he had chest pain, says EKG's fine. We're waiting on a blood result. Let's skip ahead and see if maybe, who knows, maybe I have lung cancer, don't know about it, or maybe I got emphysema or something. So they took a chest x-ray, and then they kicked me back out in the lobby again. I was out there for, I don't know, another hour or so. I can't remember. Then they came and got me. I'm like, okay, fine. They'll take me back. They're walking me down the hallway. And this is what brings me to my point of Cape Coral is outgrown hospital. Down every fucking corridor from tip to headboard is just gurneys with people laying in it in the hallway. So not only are the rooms filled, but literally down both sides of the hall, tip to tip, just one gurney after the other occupied with a body. So they take me around the corner and they throw me in one of these gurneys, and I'm sitting in this gurney. They did my second blood test, and they came back and said, hey, your first blood test came back all right. Now I've been waiting 2 hours, took the second blood test, and they said, well, while we're waiting on that blood test, we've already x-rayed his lungs. His lungs look good. We're going to give him a CAT scan, make sure he don't have a blood clot. Now, for those of you who've been listening to this show for the last 5 years, that's how my stepmother passed away in 2018. She had a pulmonary embolism and just woke up dead one morning. So, like, yeah, let's fucking do it. So they took me back here, did the CT scan, and they inject you with that shit to lighten up your veins, see if you're having blood clots. You get all hot for a couple seconds. Kick me back to the gurney. And I'm right by I'm in an offshoot right next to the main hallway going out to the ambulance doors. So I'm in the heart of the emergency room. Carrie's like perched on the side of my gurney. Every time somebody comes by with a gurney or I'm sure they call them beds now. Gurney's an antiquated term, but whatever. Essentially what it looked like. It looked like we're in a war zone minus the blood. She would have to get up on my bed because, there's not enough room with wheelchairs and all that. So she's sitting on my bed, and a couple of the male nurses come down with the hospital security. And one of the girls like, yeah, we're going to need some arms, 700. Uh-huh. Then you see another security guard come around. Yeah, I heard we got a big one. And Carrie's like, did they say this motherfucker's 700 pounds? I don't know. I heard 700 and we got a big one coming in. Yeah. Ambulance pulled up. 4 dudes walked out. 5-10 minutes later, literally that long. Which, by the way, I worked in an ambulance plant. One of the things we have to do every Friday when the truck is done is we put what they call the bullhorns in, which is what the bracket that catches the wheels of the actual gurney that they put in the back of the ambulance. Those yellow ones weigh about 150 pounds empty. At least they did 24 years ago. I'm sure nowadays they might be made out of a more carbon fiber, but back then, before you put the human body in, they weighed a fucking ton. I can only imagine. They came around and it looked like I was looking for the cameras for an episode of My 600-Pound Life, and they wheeled this dude around, and you see those
Holy
guys,
shit.
the paramedics and the guys are all walking in. They're all like winded as shit because they literally had to. I don't know. I can only imagine it took half of Cape Coral Police Department to lift this guy up in the back of the squad to begin with at his house. I mean, they don't have a whole, but yeah, this dude came around. They put him right in. I'm like, they went right in the door. I'm like leaning up against his wall out in the hallway now, and but I don't. He was probably having a heart attack or something. But long story short, I got there at 12 in the afternoon, and it was like 8:30 p.m. rolling around. Been there all goddamn day, and I hear on the announcements, heads up, Get Fried food truck is out in the parking lot and will be here until midnight. So I get out my phone and I text Bill from the Unsupervised podcast because, well, that's his food truck. And I said, hey, nurses are excited you're here. He's like, yeah, they get tired of eating cafeteria food. I said, yeah, I've been here since noon. Save me a fucking cheeseburger. So the first thing after they came back and said, blood test was fine. You didn't produce anything. So you didn't have a heart attack. Your lung x-rays came out fine. Your CAT scan's fine. Well, what was the problem? We can only tell you what it wasn't. And it wasn't anything life-threatening. But they did suggest I go see a heart doctor, which I haven't done yet. My first question to him was, when can I when can I get back to my exercise routine? Because I've been doing some stupid miles. He said, you can start right away. Just if you feel anything weird, just stop. I went out and ran 2 miles the very next night and ran 9 miles on the other day, but they don't know what it was. The only thing I can think, they did give me a GSI cocktail because people say, oh, it's gas. And I remember my dad, when I was in middle school, he went to the emergency room, thought he had a heart attack and it was gas. But no, I literally felt like cartilage was breaking in my chest. So they gave me that, and they also gave me, there is a condition they can't explain that does affect the cartilage in your chest plate. Only thing I can think of, if it isn't that, I do 25 push-ups a day, but that's like nothing, because Gordon and I, remember when we did the challenge to do like 100 a month or whatever it was, 60 a day or whatever the fuck it was. So, I mean, I do 20. Only thing I can think of is maybe between the push-ups and all the miles I was doing and a lot of this shit that maybe I just had a fucking world's biggest spasm in my chest. But yeah, clean bill of health. Went out there and got a cheeseburger and fry. Fucking went out in the parking lot and slammed on. First time ever having his food. It was after sitting in an emergency room for 8 hours with nothing to eat but an Uncrustable and some Gatorade. But I'll tell you this. If you find yourself depressed or in a rut, have a heart attack scare. That'll fucking wake your shit up real quick. Even if you didn't actually have one. Just go through the motions and the probability of this thing possibly happen. But yeah.
I had one, yours a couple weeks ago. Mine was about a month and a half ago. And I'm younger than you are. And
yeah, but you smoke all that crack.
Yeah.
That makes your heart just fucking go through the ceiling.
Right, D-Train. I smoke crack. Exactly. Anyway.
Yeah, you're a little big for a crackhead.
Yeah, thank you. I was having pain.
Well, it wouldn't be like it's the first crackhead we've ever had on this show. Goddamn show used to be named after one, for God's sake. It was in the title.
I got the sticker to prove it.
Yeah.
I got a t-shirt to prove it.
I had all this pain on the left side of my chest, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. It was affecting every time I was breathing and stuff like that. And it ended up just being, I forget what they called it, but...
Whooping cough?
No, my lung, where your chest cavity is, my lung was, every time I was breathing, it was moving up and down the chest cavity. And there's a fluid that's supposed to be there. Well, when it's not there and it's inflamed or it's infectious or something like that, your lung pushes up against that cavity and creates pain. And that was my heart attack scare. Scared the shit out of me, but they told me even for my weight, because I'm 293 pounds today. When I weighed myself this morning, I was.
I have a strict.
Yeah,
I have a strict
have
weigh
no
myself
health,
once
I
a
have
week
no
policy.
health issues. So
Well, and you went through the same thing I did. What my dad told me, he's like, well, I guess the good side is you don't need to go get a health checkup anytime soon. You literally just, I said, yeah, with the exception of having a thumb put up my ass, I literally just had a full workup. I mean, you think it's been what, 2 weeks? If anything was wrong with my lungs, somebody would have called me by now. Which, by the way, I got that bill today. X-ray. Guess how much a chest X-ray at a hospital room costs when you don't have insurance?
what's that?
The fucking thing was only $300. I haven't gotten the rest of the bill yet, but just the X-rays. I guess maybe because they're digital now, they're not actually printing the shit up. But X-rays used to be
I guess so.
the fact that you can't get a Publix for less than $120. The only thing you get's like 2 cans of fucking Mountain Dew and 2 bottles of shampoo. The fact that I'm getting an X-ray now for $300, that's actually that was a lot cheaper. I was like, boy, I don't want to open this envelope, and I was like, wow, $300, that ain't bad.
Something I noticed when I was sitting in on my, as you call it, a gurney, in the room there.
Oh, at
They
least you
brought
got a
the
room. I was in the fucking hallway.
Well, no, I mean, I wasn't.
They gave my room to the 700-pound guy.
I've been in the hallway. I was born at Cape Coral Hospital.
I'm sorry. That explains
I've
a
been
lot.
there multiple times. Believe me, I know. But that time I was at Lee Health in Fort Myers, and
Never been.
I wasn't in a room. I was just in my, where they got the curtain and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought the X-ray machine to me.
Oh, they brought the hill to
And that was
Muhammad.
the first time I had actually seen that, and I was like, "Wow, this must be new." And she's like, "Oh no, they've had this since like the '70s." I was like, "What?"
No, they
The
literally
70s.
they mean that particular unit, Cape Coral Hospital,
Yeah.
Fort Myers Hospital. Dude, did they do that weird fucking rolly thing with across your forehead, like straight out of Star Trek, like zing, ding?
No,
They
I
like
never
did
got
some
that.
temperature thing. And they rolled it across my forehead and just stopped and held it like on the left side. I'm like, okay, like that was weird.
They
Oh,
were doing that with the COVID temperature things. They'd roll it across your forehead and check it on like your temple or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, that
The-
was some kind of weird thermometer.
Speaking
that
of
they
being
had going on
overcrowded,
back then.
so like when you're in the Cape Coral emergency room, they got the little station where the nurses doing a check-in, and then back
Yep.
to the left they have the old check-in.
Yep.
They have that curtained off. That's where they did my EKG and my blood work. They're so overcrowded. they like, we're going to close off the old secretary room. We're going to get the printer and the paper out of here. And literally just, that's where they did that at.
I had a CT done at Cape Hospital, and that was the time that I was actually in the hallway on a gurney next to the nurses station. Like, what the fuck is going on?
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Definitely over. I mentioned that to one of the gentlemen working there. He said, yeah, they're actually, I guess they got a side of the building that was used for now antiquated technology that used to be so damn big it took a whole wing. He said they're getting ready to actually, they're going through the process of getting permits and all that pulled to turn that into a new pod, as they call it, like we're at fucking Oz in like jail or some shit. They're on the pod B. But yeah, apparently they refer to those as pods. But yeah, I guess they're getting ready to build a third one. Lord knows they need it. I mean, this whole town is just getting fucking insanely crowded.
Back in the day, my grandfather used to. Well, my
Back in
grandfather and
my
my
day,
grandmother.
when we
They
played
used
stick
to.
and
They
hoop.
used to volunteer at that hospital.
You think stick and
And,
hoop's bad? My grandfather used to tell me when he was a kid, he would grab giant horse flies and stick a straw, as in hay, up their rear end, and then just watch them just kind of hover and like a busted ass bottle rocket.
What the fuck?
Hey, it was the 19th.
We didn't need MTV in our day.
It was the night he was born in 24, so that would have been what, 1931? Yeah,
Oh my god!
yeah. In the hills of
But
Kentucky,
No wonder they were depressed.
Jesus.
coal mining town.
No, my grandfather, he used to volunteer at that hospital, and he used to make those dual colored like door plates and stuff like that, where it would tell you like what the room number is, or
Oh,
like
okay.
fire or emergency, and it'd be a white face, and then the letters would be like blue.
Okay,
You would actually use this. He took me in there one day. Actually, the day that Ronald Reagan died,
Can I
was
guess?
at Cape Coral Hospital
can I guess?
making those.
Is it a 3-layered or 2-layered sheet of plastic? The bottom sheet is your secondary color. The front face is your primary, such as your red or blue.
I think
and then
so,
it literally
yeah.
just gouges out until it gets to the second layer.
I mean, it doesn't gouge out. He had this machine where you would put letters, these block letters, into a row, and then you would trace it with the handle, and it would drill it out with the like a
it's like
mill
it's
above it.
like an analog CNC machine.
Exactly. But yeah, all the nameplates and everything that they had at Cape Hospital back in the day for all the room numbers and X-ray and whatever it was called, he made all that shit. But yeah,
That's
I
cool.
remember, I'll never forget that. The day that Ronald Reagan died, I was at Cape Coral Hospital making that shit with my grandfather.
So Robert Kennedy Jr. is running for president, right? You know
Yeah.
who killed his father? Anyone?
Was it Sirhan?
Correct. Now, looking through my room, I was just explaining that I had, prior to the show, or maybe we caught at the beginning, I recently had, which I got to post this week, the son and granddaughter of Wild Bill Garnier from Band of Brothers fame. You guys familiar with the show Band of Brothers?
No.
Seen a couple episodes.
All real people, obviously. I've had George Lutz Jr. on here and Wild Bill Garnier. Well, one of their lieutenants was a guy by the name of Buck Compton. The guy who played Buck Compton played a bunch of shows. He actually played the second. Remember on Yellowstone, the two brothers that were kind of the adversaries? They're like real shit dick brothers. I think because every season they had a new adversary that they trying to take my land and they have to go out and kill in Yellowstone.
You watch a lot of TV, D-Train. I don't.
That's like one of the biggest shows on TV. Anyhow, Buck Compton.
I've never seen an episode, so you lost me too.
That figures, but the people at home are following me. Buck Compton from Easy Company, 101st Airborne, who everybody knows because of Band of Brothers, went on to be a district attorney, and he's actually the one who tried fucking Sirhan.
No shit.
Yeah. And I got to that because you're Reagan. When Reagan
Because
died.
of my Reagan.
Yeah. When Reagan died.
Speaking of TV shows and stuff like that,
That you
actually,
just clearly said you don't watch, so it's going to be an interesting
you
segment.
you did turn me on to the Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
I did watch that.
If you
And
like the
that was
Pacific, you got to
fucking
watch Band of Brothers.
badass.
People-
That was badass.
People claim Band of Brothers is better, but as I point out, it's not fair to compare the two because it's two different. So if you enjoyed the Pacific, watch Band of Brothers. It's also on Netflix.
Yeah.
So
They didn't get into Henry Sledge as much as I thought they were going to.
You mean Eugene Sledge?
Or yeah,
Well, he was
Henry.
the entire,
Henry's his son.
he's the main character of the series, with the exception of Basilone and Lecky.
I know, but it seemed like they were more focused on them throughout like the middle of the series. Like I think
Well, that's because they had to
Eugene was
make
more
room.
in the beginning and the end.
Well, that's because they had to fit the Basilone story and Robert Lecky in there as well.
I guess so.
Because if you actually read Robert Lecky's book, they left a lot of shit out. They left out.
Did they?
They talk about Hoosier Chuckler, but they left chicken out, and his very good friend named Red. Now, Red, as implied, was a ginger.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know this about gingers, but them and the sun don't get along very fucking well.
My wife is a ginger.
So imagine being a ginger on Guadalcanal in the fucking South Pacific.
In 100-degree weather, yeah.
And not only was Red dealing with the sun, but he was a little anxious about being in a war zone, and so he would never come out of his helmet. He would take a bath in his helmet, sleep with his helmet, ate with his helmet. Unless you're on the front lines, when you're off the line, people would kind of let their guard down, as you know. You're in the military. Fucking take the head cover off, maybe put on a fucking garrison cap or the same hat I'm wearing right now.
Yeah.
Red would never come out of his helmet. And so these guys, being the battle-hardened, cynical guys they were, Lecky grabbed his helmet, threw it on the ground, and Chuckler lit it up with a fucking Thompson. And they said Red about had a goddamn anxiety attack. Like, he started fucking freaking out and crying to the point where, like, Akak had to send him back somewhere to get a helmet off a dead Marine because, like, he lost his shit.
Nothing. But they were just proving the point that nothing is going to save you.
Yeah.
Nothing can save you out here.
Well, plus, those helmets were never
it's
designed.
you and yeah,
The helmets are not designed for direct impact, especially those helmets. Nowadays, are Kevlar, it's a little different. But the M1 helmet was primarily designed as to protect you from shrapnel and flying debris, like rocks and shit. You could shoot a M1 helmet with a fucking 9mm, it'll go right through it.
Yeah, I don't even think it would stop a rock.
They're pretty damn heavy. I'm actually staring at 6 of them while we're having this conversation. That's why in Save a Private Ryan, when he's wrestling with the German, he throws his helmet, everybody laughing. No, I think an M1 helmet weighs 5.5 pounds. They're not fucking light.
Kevlar.
No, they're not.
Light.
That's what.
Kevlar's
That's
aren't
what.
light either.
Yeah.
That's what I used during training,
Okay, there you go.
and it was uncomfortable and awful and useless, except to hold your water for shaving.
3 pounds. That's a heavy 3 pounds though.
Morgan, you were in too?
Yeah, I was Army.
So was I.
What years were you in, Morgan?
91 to 95.
Would that have been Operation Desert Storm or Desert Shield?
It was
Or in between?
just the beginning of Desert Storm when I joined. So I got to Fort Dix February 14th in 1991.
That's New Jersey, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jeff Copsetta, my co-host on What's the Scuttlebutt, he was in Army boot camp on 9/11. So he actually got to witness the training expedition. And because, regular routine. All of a sudden they're told, they weren't even told what happened. They were just saying there was an incident in New York. And he said training just fucking amplified. And the next thing he was deployed overseas. So things are going pretty well in the world, especially here in the United States. China's not up
comparatively.
To anything. China's not up to anything squirrely. Southern border is fucking tight as a frog's ass. Everything fucking, you can get a gallon of milk for 38 cents. A 12-pack of soda will cost you $1.50. Everything's just
sunshine and buttercups, baby.
Gravy train with biscuit wheels. And so since we have absolutely nothing going on whatsoever, and we just got all this time and money and political will to just spend and shoot about, boy, how about everybody just getting along to say, hey, TikTok, we're coming for you again. That's something. It's like, huh? So what do we have against TikTok? They're collecting data. And how is that any different than
is every other app out there?
Oh, they're collecting data, but you guys don't have control over it. And since they're not an American company, you guys can't buy stock options. And most of you own stock in Meta, and Meta's eating dick ever since TikTok. Oh, I understand now. And so what's the option? TikTok, either you sell to an American company that we can invest in, or we're going to ban you on all our fucking internet service provisions. Which one do you want to do? They're going to have to sell because the amount of revenue they're going to lose if they don't, even if they got lowballed on the open market, they're going to make more money than what they stand to lose by loss of revenue sharing off of commercial ads. Not to mention all the money, the 60% they take off all the bullshit that people are inundating TikTok with those stupid shops. That's the worst thing TikTok ever did, was put those goddamn shops on there.
Every other video is a motherfucking ad for something.
Mm-hmm.
And
if it's not an app, it's, hey, go down to the TikTok shop and you can get the same t-shirt for 37 cents and I'll make 10%. Oh, you'll make a half a fucking penny? And then TikTok takes 60% when you charge out?
I'll be right back. I gotta use the bathroom.
After these messages, we'll be right back. No, and so it's like, can we... It's not like we don't know what's going on. You have a topic you want to talk about when we come back?
I've got a bunch. I've been actually paying attention to what they're talking about on the radio, and I had a really great story, but
well, let's do the great story because we're already 104 minutes into this, and so we'll do the great story. I'll shut up for a bit.
Well, unfortunately, it seems like Monday must have been like a radio holiday because every host that I listened to, it was a best of. So I flipped on Dave and Chuck the Freak, and they were a best of, and I didn't know it. And this story was about this guy from the Czech Republic who took his Bugatti on the Autobahn at 257 miles an hour.
Ooh.
And what's that?
I said, ooh.
Yeah, and the German authorities were trying to figure out what to do because technically it's not illegal. But the story was from a year ago.
I bet the answer was they got him for wasting natural resources. In the when Gordon lived in Montana,
if it would have been this year, I totally would believe that.
Well, even back in the day when Gordon moved to Montana and they got rid of the federal speed limit. Back prior to like 1996, we had a federal speed limit, which was 55 across the nation. They got rid of that, and then everybody got to choose their own speed limit. Montana's flat and long, and Texas, I think, parts did the same. Montana said, "Fuck it, we no more speed limit on the interstate. We want you to drive within a reasonable speed, except for at night." I think it was like 85. Now, keep in mind, this is 30 years ago when cars were still semi-shitty. A lot of drum brakes on the road. But what they would do in that case, like you're talking about, if someone was doing 190 mile an hour, they would just give them a ticket for wasting natural resources because there's no reason to drive that fast. Like, fucker, you're just burning on gas at this point. And so that's how they would handle it. But to answer your question, apparently the reason everybody was on Best Of today, I just Googled what holidays were today. Clearly, they're on break for National Open Umbrella Indoor Day. That's today.
Actually, it's probably, now that I think about it, it's probably because it's spring break.
Oh, yeah, that could do it. Now, Mike and I are kind of joining in. Apparently, it's National Earmuff Day. We got our ears covered, so we're halfway home there.
Okay, I got mine plugged. Does that count?
National Good Samaritan Day. I haven't.
You're not in the club, Morgan. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh!
National.
Hang on, I gotta go cry now. Where's my cry closet?
Go to your safe space.
National Dermatologist Day.
Okay, I mean for Florida, that's probably pretty vital.
No, here we go. This is Florida written all over it. National Coconut Tort Day.
Coconut what?
Tort. Torte.
Tort?
I think it's a
tortilla
dessert. It's a dessert, and it's also a limit you can put on a lawsuit, like tort reform.
Yeah, case law. I mean,
yes, a tort is a rich, usually multi-layered cake that is filled with a whipped cream, buttercream, jams, or fruit. Ordinarily, the cold tort is glazed and garnished. Torts are commonly baked in spring form pan, whatever the fuck that is.
Delicioso.
Actually, I know what a spring form pan is. It's like it looks like a wheel rim, basically, and it has like a little clasp on it, and you undo it so it springs out away from whatever you just baked.
Oh yeah, I've seen those before. Yeah.
I think if you add the center colander, then you use that to make angel food cake, right?
Well, that's a bunt pan.
Oh, okay. Welcome to fucking Baking with Morgan.
Baking 101 with Morgan Long.
I mean, I used to know about baking. I don't know much about it anymore, but we'll just go with that.
But back to the conversation before Mike's pee break. TikTok ain't going to go anywhere. They're going to end up selling it out. So everybody all freaking out. It's like, what are you freaking out for? Besides, put down your phone down and go outside, you fucking weirdos.
The only thing I'll say to that is the government can do whatever they want.
You don't say.
And if they feel the need to ban an app like TikTok, I think they will. Or I'm sorry, I think they can. And it's very possible that they will.
I don't think they will. Once again, it's a money grab. They just want to sell it to an American company that they can all invest in.
I'm not disagreeing with you there. I'm not just disagreeing with you there at all. I just think that it's very possible that can happen.
How crazy is it that we haven't had a large-scale antitrust lawsuit since Microsoft in 1998? You trying to tell me that Comcast ain't a fucking monopoly? You trying to tell me that Google's not a monopoly? You trying to tell me that... Actually, I take that back. I don't know if it ever went to court, but they were threatening to go after Apple for antitrust on their tap-to-pay system.
Well, they just stopped a merger between Spirit and JetBlue
Yeah, but
because when it went before the federal regulators, they said that it was it was I can't remember exactly what the wording was, but they said basically it took one of the big competitors out of the game.
well, that's
So
because there's a minimum amount of money the government can make off an airlines when it comes to Google, Microsoft, Comcast, all these data collection points and sources of communication and eavesdropping. Like they didn't care that NBC Comcast bought out NBC and NBC owns just about everything. But no, so I'm an Android guy. I've always have been. Android
me too.
when it comes to tap and pay, you can download any wallet you want. You can use the Google wallet. You can download Shifty Bob straight from the Ukraine's wallet and add all your credit cards to that. And then whoever the wallet provider you're using, they're the one who makes the service fees off of your transactions. But you can use Samsung, you can use Bank of America's wallet system and load all on iPhones. I don't know if it's still the same. They're supposed to be going to court for antitrust. You can only use Apple's wallet system, so that Apple was the only one making service fees off of tap to pay on their fucking platform. And like, hey, that's a fucking monopoly if there is one. Because, the banks have the ears of the politicians. So you get banking lobbyists and they're saying, hey, we're not making any money off of Apple's tap to pay because they won't let people use our wallets. And so, yeah, that was like the last time. But other than that, it's insanity. What do you got on your list of shit there, Mike?
The Midpoint Bridge was shut down in Cape Coral today.
Okay.
An accident happened. I don't know what happened exactly. I just know that I was driving over the bridge and saw a man bleeding profusely on the side of the bridge as everybody merged down to one lane to get into Fort Myers.
No weird motorcycle or anything?
Didn't see a motorcycle. All I saw was a car that looked like it had blown out its passenger rear tire to bits. I don't know if maybe the bike went over the wall into the drink or if he was on a bicycle or maybe he was walking, but this guy had road rash like no other.
I'm trying
I
to
mean,
look online.
there was red everywhere. It was all over the place.
I'm seeing stories from 7 and 11 years ago.
I tried to find it, but it did not pop up anywhere.
Gotta get DuckDuckGo, I guess.
On a Google search. It was not any. I looked for the current traffic incidents on the sheriff's website. It was not on there. Everything from there was at like 3:30. This was at like 1:30, maybe like 1:15 today, something like that. But I could not find any information on it. But this guy was, I mean, he was blown out to bits. I mean, he was not like, it almost looked like somebody hit him and then dragged him a good few yards because he had road rash all over his body and his pants were torn to shreds. You get hit by a car, I don't think your pants are really going to tear that much. You get dragged, that shit's coming off of you in layers.
No, I know I already pissed off the fan base of Paul in the Iron Lung, so I'm just going to continue down this fucking path.
Go ahead.
If that guy didn't use a turn signal, did he deserve it? This is my new old man pet peeve. The turn signal thing has just got me so fucking irritated. You know how many cars I've pulled up to, rolled down my window, and I said, does that piece of shit not have a fucking turn signal in it?
How many of them were BMWs?
It's everybody. It's literally everybody. And it's compounded by the fact that I'm a runner and a lunchtime walker. You say, Don, why are you walking at lunch? Because I don't have a shower to go back to. Otherwise, I would run at lunch. Here's my theory. And it's going to sound weird, but hear me out. Narcissism has gotten to an all-time high that people can't use their turn signal. And you say, well, Don, if they're narcissists, they would want people to notice them, so they would use their turn signal. No. they don't want people to know what their intentions are. They want to reveal to the world what their fucking intentions are, like a Instagram post. And here's why I say this. As a runner, a bike rider perhaps, a jogger, a dog walker, a pedestrian professionally in New York City, we have this thing, or we used to, they're called social relationships. I'm walking at lunch or running my 6 miles or whatever. I'm walking down the street, down a sidewalk. Mike's driving his car towards me. Let's say I'm at work. I'm walking down 47th Terrace doing my 2 miles. I'm walking on a sidewalk through the entrance of a parking lot, or I'm coming up to the entrance of the parking lot. Mike has a desire to turn into said parking lot. Mike turns on his turn signal. He'd made his intentions known to me. Okay, this guy wants to turn. So depending on where I'm at, I'm either going to speed up to minimize his and to minimize my impact on his life, or I'm going to slow down so that he can maintain his momentum, and the two of us shall pass and continue on about our way in this social relationship where we have the least amount of impact because Mike made his intentions known to me. I have social awareness. I have situational awareness. I see what his intentions are, so I adjust my gait accordingly. It's even worse when you're mile fucking 9. You got a heart rhythm going in. At that point, you're in overdrive because running sucks. And so when I'm fucking in mile 8 and I see somebody coming, drivers, hear me out. If you're ever driving and a guy, woman, whatever is running and they're fucking soaking sweat, when they're running and they wave you on, let them be in control. I understand. I get it. You want to be, no, you go ahead. They're waving. Go. Trust me. You're sitting in your ass with a resting heart rate. This girl might be on mile 10. At mile 10, everything is about momentum, gait, and being in the zone. You want to maintain the same speed because your body's literally in automatic drive. And when by us waving you on, that means, because I'll wave you on, because what I'll do is as you're going, I'll just run behind you and continue on my way. I'll put a little turn in there. But when you wave me on, then that means I got to fucking slow down, speed up, stop. It just fucks everything up. But back to the point. You use your turn signal. You're on your motorcycle. You're using a turn signal. The guy in the car knows your intentions. He's going to accommodate you. You're going to accommodate him. You both can go on your way. But you fucking pricks who get mad and sit there waiting for me huffing and puffing because I'm walking down the sidewalk in front of your entrance and you don't have your fucking turn signal on. Guess what? Fuck you, fella, because I can't adjust my pattern. I can't maintain this social relationship with you because you're such a fucking dickhead. You can't go, It's not like you got to bend down and hot wire 2 fucking wires together or fucking make a scroll run it. You go, and a light bulb comes. A light bulb's called a fucking indicator. It indicates to people what your intentions are so we can accommodate them. So lose the fucking attitude when your dipshit ass can't go, and turn your turn signal on so the rest of the world knows what the fuck you want to do.
I agree.
But
I will say, metal beats muscle every time.
Yes, but
car beats human.
Yes, but if you're...
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the runner or the cyclist or the walker or whatever has to be more aware that the person driving that vehicle is not fucking paying attention. Period. They're dicking around on their phone. They're, doing whatever.
Oh, I have social awareness. I'll move if I need to move. But once again, you're sitting there stationary, getting mad because I'm taking a little too long to mosey across the fucking sidewalk. Well, dickhead, if you had your turn signal on when you're coming up to your stop, I could have accommodated you by either stopping or running faster.
In that specific situation, yes, I'm 100% on board with you.
Here's the other thing that fucking
You should have your fucking turn signal on no matter what, 100% of the time. Is it going to happen? No.
It's like I've been cut off so many times. I actually went to my dad's house the other day to help him move some shit into his trailer from the hurricane. Going down fucking McGregor towards Sanibel. Got to make that turn signal on. Fucking truck's right in my blind spot. He won't speed up. He won't slow down. I got to fucking get in the aisle, turn in this gated community. I'm running out of fucking runoff room. I finally honk my horn, stick my fucking finger out the window, fucking floor it, get in front of him, pull in. He pulls in behind me, happened to be a contractor. He pulls up right next to me. made a mistake, asked me what the fuck my problem was. This is before my heart attack scare, so I had a lot of fucking anger, and I tore into his ass. He just fucking left. Like, this dude's gonna fucking kill me. I was like, did that piece of shit have a fucking? I said, I have my goddamn fucking turn signal on. Are you sitting there riding my fucking blind spot? Can't you see I need to fucking get over? Here's the other thing that irks me. Another case of narcissism. Walking down the sidewalk on lunch, I go into full-blown Grand Theft Auto NPC mode. I'm just brain dead, just maintaining my path, trying to get my 2.5 miles in. Walking on the edge of the sidewalk. My right shoulder is parallel with the fucking grass line, right? So if this sidewalk is designed to accommodate 3 people shoulder to shoulder, I'm taking up my minimum amount of room, right? You'll see these assholes always walking 2 abreast right down the center of the fucking sidewalk. I'm already over as far as I can go without walking in the grass and in a fucking flower bed. Here comes Tina. Back to our social relationship. In this situation, Mike, what do? You and your wife are walking down the sidewalk, and here comes somebody's already on the edge. What do? What is the ideal situation?
Here's what I do. Single file. Period. There is no other way.
We have a social relationship. You guys are walking side by side. You see a walker coming, a lady with a stroller, a bike. One of you slows down. The other one speeds up. You drop in like Maverick and fucking Goose. You go signal file until that person passed. Then you spread back out. You got 3 people here. Everybody follow the rules. They maintain their fucking pace. They maintain their forward momentum. And no one was fucking put out. There was no stopping. There was no one's amount of time in which it took to get to where they're going has been interrupted by this brief passing in the night. But no, these fuckers will fucking slam right into your shoulder as if you're.
If it's the wife and we're hands down the fucking sidewalk, I'm grabbing her and I'm throwing her either behind me or in front of me. Because someone's coming. Because I have enough respect for that other person not to throw them into the fucking mud.
And where this is really bad is when you go over the Edison Bridge in downtown Fort Myers. You got that concrete barrier. You got people running on the bike path. I'll be running over the fucking bridge. Here comes like 5 high school kids just clogging up that pipe. And do you think they fall on a signal file? No, I'm like climbing up over the fucking wall to maintain my pace. It's like, come on, dickheads. You guys are out here running too. So you should fucking... It's just...
Something that aggravates the piss out of me. Cyclists. Cyclists? Yes. Not that I have anything wrong with the specific person, but just the mentality of a cyclist. Cyclists are supposed to obey the rules of the road. Is that not correct?
That's 100% correct.
Okay. So cyclists are supposed to obey the rules of the road. Then why am I seeing so many of them running stop signs and blowing right in front of again, metal beats the shit out of human being.
I completely understand, but once again, to give them a little bit of defense, 3 things: the pace, heart rate, and getting the fucking feet out of those stupid pedals.
I understand all of that shit. I get it. But, again, 6,000-pound car versus 200-pound fucking person, 250-pound person on a metal bike.
The answer to that question is somebody from Kentucky looking at us saying, you guys are fucking crazy for going freshwater fishing in Florida in a plastic boat with alligators. It's an accepted risk. It's part of the sport, and it hasn't happened.
I get it, but the arrogance behind it, like, my thought on it is just like, fuck, you think you own the road.
But crotch rocket riders split lanes, no different.
And they'll get thrown into that same category. I ride bikes. I don't fucking split lanes or do any silly, stupid shit like that. I obey all the traffic laws and everything because I want to make sure that when I'm on my bike, I want to be as safe as possible, and everybody else around me is as safe as possible. And I don't want to make anybody else nervous because I'm, within 3 feet of your, or 1.5 feet of your door and your mirror and the other guy.
Since we're like alienating swaths of the population, let's just go ahead and piss off this group. Where do you guys stand on? There's no delicate way to say this, so I'm just going to come out and say it.
There never is.
If your truck requires a small step stool to get in, Should you legally be issued a handicap parking sticker? I've seen
No.
this. I've seen the guys in lifted F-150s. They got the blue placard.
No.
It's like, dude, you literally have to climb a ladder to get in your truck. Or at least get one of those automatic fold downs, and you're still climbing as if you're a kid climbing into a bunk bed. You can park back here with the rest of us.
Anybody that's able-bodied.
But there's so many conditions now that qualify you for a
give
placard
a-
that someone like your father couldn't actually get a parking spot because some douchebag has their fucking truck.
Give a fuck what your condition is. If you're able to walk, get the fuck out of the parking spot. Period. Get out. You don't deserve it. You're a fucking asshole, and you're being a whiny bitch. That's what I think about it. If you're in a wheelchair, if you have crutches, if you have, like the permanent crutches, not temporary ones, but if you have a legitimate reason to have a placard on your rearview mirror, by all means use the space. Otherwise, fuck off, cunt.
Well, I've seen these guys actually have the placard on their mirror. They were still issued. And it's like somehow...
Again, legitimate reason, though.
Yeah.
That's not legitimate.
No. It's like, dude, you got full range of motion if you're climbing up into that fucking thing.
Yeah.
It'd be different if the thing was on hydraulics and lowered all the way to the ground. But it's not. It's fucking lifted.
I'm sorry. I get a little hot when it comes to ADA and handicap stuff, because of my stepfather and because of, what he was put through for the entire time that I knew him up until he passed away. He was 100% well deserving. Anybody else that is not in a position like his or similar to his can go fuck themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think about it. If you are able-bodied, you can walk, you can bend down, you can jump, you can
And
whatever.
Furthermore, I think the original intent of the handicap parking spot, yes, they're put up front for appearance sake, but the actual use of the handicap spot is it accommodates a car length and a half so that they have the ability to get their equipment out of their vehicle. They just happen to put them up front. We could easily just put them in back because the argument can be made, well, they're not walking anyhow. They can roll. It doesn't affect them. But to that point, if you're not in a wheelchair, right, and you're not using the store-supplied mode of transportation, the rascal, one can make the argument that you shouldn't have the handicap parking placard anyhow because in modern-day store, the floor print of fucking Walmart is 6 times the size of the parking lot. So you tell me I need a spot up front to walk because I don't have a wheelchair, but because I can't walk, but I'm going to not use a scooter and do 300 laps around Walmart? No, you don't fucking need it because you're, and I think the same way too. Like you're trying to like pull down the parking spot and somebody's stopping because they're waiting for Sheila to back out of the third space. It's like, hey Peg, you're going to get that spot and then do 18. You're going to do a fucking 3 miles in Walmart, but you want to wait 15 minutes so you can save 30 yards in the parking lot. Fucking park in the back if you have to. By the way, your car's safer back here because there's less fucking migrating shopping carts.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Well, fellas, I think that's a good start to bring back a season of the What's in Your Head podcast. That's a quick 130 minutes. Who knew? What do you think, Morgan? You think we fit? Or are you going to leave us in the dressing room?
No way, man. I love it. I'm down as long as you're willing.
Hell yeah.
Do you have earbuds?
I've got them in. I've got my Raycons in.
And that's the microphones on your Raycon?
Yeah.
Interesting. Are those the new Raycons or the older ones?
No, I've had them for, I don't know, 2-3 years.
Okay, those are probably the older ones. I've had 2 versions of the old ones, and how you actually know is if you hold in on the right ear, does it shut off or does it turn on awareness mode?
I think it shuts off.
I had 2 versions of those, and the biggest problem I had with those is the removable earpiece. The aperture was the same size as the aperture of the speaker. And so when you're running gross as it is, you get earwax in there, and it would build up on that screen. And then if you take a Q-tip with hydrogen peroxide or alcohol, the screen pops off eventually, and you get shit down in there, and then the speaker loses its volume. Been through 2 pairs of those. Carrie got me the current version, but they've done 3 things that are really cool. One, that rubber gasket, now they reduced the aperture, and it actually has a wall in it. I mean, it's still open, but there's kind of like, think of them as like looking at a skateboard wheel. Think of like how the bearings kind of made of a lip before the axle hole.
Yeah.
Well, think of the bearings if they're a lot skinnier, right? So there is a lip now, so that your funk gets caught on that lip, and then you take it off and you can clean it off, and it never gets to the screen, and so it protects the actual unit itself. That's a tremendous improvement. But 2 things they've done. One, which works great for if you use them in public or you're running, you hold down on the right speaker, and it'll say awareness mode on, and it actually activates a built-in microphone. So not only do you hear your music, but you actually hear the cars driving past you. You hear people calling you an asshole in public, so you can hear that. And 2, if you hold... Go ahead.
I've got a set of shooting muffs that are
That's
that.
what Gordon told me. His does. And then on the left one, if you hold it in, it'll give you 3 different preset equalizers. And bass mode makes your head feel like a fucking subwoofer. It's insane. the mode on them. So, and they made the charging case a little bit bigger, but that was my biggest complaint, was how I would destroy them just through sweat and ear funk. But because they put that little tiny rim on the inside of that rubber ear plug now, it catches all that shit, and it protects the speaker. So tremendous. The reason I was going to ask if you had earbuds is on the next episode we'll see a different mic, but you said those are your Raycon mics, so that's fine.
So I mean, if this is something that you're interested in me doing often,
sure.
I'll get whatever equipment you think I need.
You have a laptop?
Yeah. Well, I got a pretty old one, but I'm due for a new one anyway.
Or a desktop?
No, I haven't had a desktop in years.
Yeah. I was gonna say, what I was getting to is anything you could just get a base model USB microphone. But yeah,
okay.
We'll talk about it. No, I love to have you on more, if not a full-time thing. So we'll have you on again next week, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
But
all right, sounds good.
On behalf of myself, Morgan, and Mike, we want to thank each and every one of you for your continued support over the last 5-6 years. Cool thing is we can do the show early now because we don't have, like on What's the Scuttlebutt, I got to host. Both my co-hosts are in Texas, so I got to start at 9:30 because it's fucking 8:30 for them. Now we all live in the same time zone. We can record early, and now I can go out and run instead of going straight to bed. But we want to thank you all for contributing and hanging out with us. And if you haven't done so, head over to whatsinyourhead.com and click on the YouTube link and subscribe and watch all our stuff there. And for myself, Mike, and Morgan, talk to you all next week.
This has been a Digital 410 production.